Yellowstone just foreshadowed Kayce's death. Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 12 may have just foreshadowed the death of Kayce Dutton. Luke Grimes' character was mostly separated from the main conflicts of the Dutton Ranch throughout the show's run. In Taylor Sheridan's neo-Western hit, Kayce's affairs were primarily linked to his own family, Monica and Tate, and his personal woes. That changed, however, in Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, after John Dutton IE unexpectedly died. While Kayce was initially convinced that his father killed himself, conversations with his sister, Beth, eventually changed his mind about how he died. This sets up his multi-episode final arc in Yellowstone. Kayce has been silently working on clearing his father's death case for a couple of episodes now. In Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2, he has reached out to former colleagues and tapped into his connections in Montana to make sure that the truth will come out about John's murder in the governor's home. This is an interesting switch with Beth, who has been mainly focused on dealing with what has been going on at the ranch. As entertaining as it is to see him actually being more involved, it could also mean that the end is near for Kayce. In Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 12, Counting Coup, Kayce is at the forefront of the storytelling, although he is operating essentially without the knowledge of people in his inner circle. Before he goes out and seeks the man who set up the hit on John, he is briefly involved in the affairs at home after Colby's freak accident in Yellowstone. One of Rip's most loyal cowboys died after he came to Carter's rescue from an unstable horse. Kayce and Tate help by disposing of the body of the corpse at a makeshift cemetery within the property's borders. Just as they are leaving the area, Tate asks about funeral plans. His dad answers in reference to John's death by confirming that the Dutton patriarch will be buried there next to his mom. However, Tate makes it clear that he is asking about his dad and where Kayce's final resting place will be. John's youngest son, while clearly uncomfortable with the conversation, reveals that he wants to be buried near Tate and Monica, wherever that is. The conversation may seem like a random conversation, but considering all the deaths in Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2 thus far, it's difficult to not read into it as Kayce's instructions if he ends up dying throughout this ordeal. Sheridan could have focused on John's demise and upcoming funeral, but the shift in their topic to Kayce's future demise, given how young, healthy, and strong he still is, when Tate asks about it, is ominous enough. For what it's worth, it isn't difficult to imagine something bad happening to Kayce because of his new purpose. Tate and Kayce's conversation over at the Dutton family ranch's informal cemetery isn't the only thing from Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 12 that potentially foreshadows his death. As the father and son walk away back to the house, the camera pans to the tomb of Evelyn Dutton, the family's matriarch who died years before the events of Yellowstone. Through flashbacks, it was revealed that she died after falling from a horse. Understandably, it was a tragic time for the family, but given everything that has happened in the last few years, the show hasn't revisited her existence until Counting Coup. While the setting of Kayce and Tate's conversation naturally allows for Evelyn's tomb to be featured, Yellowstone Season 5, Episode 12 lingering on it could be a foreshadowing of another Dutton tragedy in the making. The character has never really been fleshed out in the show because she was already gone when the series started. But based on the flashbacks and what's known about her, Evelyn had a special connection to Kayce. Seeing her tomb may be a reminder that sooner rather than later, they can be reunited in afterlife. Given Kayce's complicated relationship with his dad, he typically stays out of the way when it comes to family drama. He wasn't even involved in the intense war between Jamie and Beth, as he was able to maintain some kind of relationship with his adopted brother. That said, John's murder has really pushed him down a path of revenge that he may never be able to come back from again. Granted his training, knowledge, and capabilities, he is able to carry out this dangerous mission to get retribution for his father's demise. That being said, it also comes with risks, especially since he's operating mainly on his own. While Beth deals with Jamie, even though he wasn't really part of the planning of John's killing, Kayce is dealing with far more dangerous people. Hired goons backed up by clearly rich people who were bold enough to order a hit on the governor of Montana. At this point, it seems like Kayce is so committed to his cause that he really does not care if it means sacrificing his life, as long as he knows he can get justice for his dad's murder. There has been no shortage of Dutton family tragedy in the last few years of Yellowstone. Kevin Costner's exit before the show is finished leads to Sheridan killing the character, which is arguably still the biggest loss in the show, considering how much it affected the rest of the family's fates. Yellowstone Season 5, Part 2's flashbacks show what life could have been like if John lived. Because Yellowstone never shies away from a big death, and it was able to pull off its most significant one quite impressively, it is within the realm of possibility that Kayce will see his end when Yellowstone wraps up. In terms of the narrative, it gives the show the final emotional punch, since he is leaving a wife and a son who adore him. Losing Kayce will also make Beth and Jamie's upcoming face-off so much more intense. Since the very first episode of Yellowstone, the Dutton family has faced a relentless storm of threats, external enemies, internal betrayals, and the ever-present specter of death. But as the show has marched forward, one character in particular has seemed destined for an inescapable fate, Kayce Dutton. And now, in what might be the show's most heartbreaking foreshadowing yet, Yellowstone has all but confirmed that Kayce's death is on the horizon, the vision that sealed his fate. Throughout Yellowstone, Kayce has been a man caught between two worlds, his duty to his family's ranch and his connection to his wife, Monica, and their son, Tate. This struggle has often manifested in violence and heartache, but it wasn't until Season 4 that a chilling prophecy emerged, hinting at his ultimate demise. In one of the most haunting moments of the series, Kayce underwent a Lakota vision quest. Seeking clarity about his path, he retreated into the wilderness, where he experienced a series of nightmarish visions. When he emerged, shaken and haunted, Monica asked him what he saw. His response was ominous. "I saw the end of us." At the time, many fans speculated that this cryptic message referred to his marriage, the Dutton family's legacy, or even the ranch itself. But what if it was something far more tragic? What if it was a direct reference to Kayce's death? The cycle of tragedy. The Duttons are no strangers to death. From Lee Dutton's murder in the very first episode to John Dutton's near-fatal ambush, the family has been locked in a bloody battle for survival. And in the world of Yellowstone, patterns matter. Kayce's fate may be tied to a long-standing theme: the loss of the family's strongest warriors. Consider how the Dutton men have fared so far. Lee, the eldest and most loyal son, was the first to die. John, the patriarch, has been targeted multiple times and is living on borrowed time. If the show follows its established pattern, Kayce, as the most capable fighter in the family, may be next in line. His military past, his role as a protector, and his deep connection to violence make him the perfect candidate for a devastating fall. A death foretold in blood. Beyond the vision quest, there have been other clues that point toward Kayce's grim fate. One of the most significant came during the brutal attack on the Dutton family in Season 3. As armed mercenaries struck simultaneously against Beth, John, and Kayce, it was Kayce who reacted with the sharp instincts of a soldier, flipping his desk and returning fire. He survived that day, but Yellowstone has a habit of foreshadowing its major deaths long before they happen. Could that scene have been a test run for something more final? Additionally, the people closest to Kayce have suffered terrible losses. Monica has endured trauma after trauma, from losing her brother to nearly dying herself. Tate was kidnapped, an experience that left scars on his psyche. The Dutton legacy demands blood, and Kayce may be the ultimate sacrifice needed to keep his family's story alive. The ranch's curse. There's an argument to be made that the Dutton Ranch itself is cursed. Every generation has paid a heavy price for its land. Kayce has tried to walk a different path, even considering leaving the ranch entirely. But like his father before him, he has always been pulled back in. And in the Yellowstone universe, there's no escaping fate. John Dutton has often warned that their way of life is a war, not just against outside forces, but against time itself. If Kayce dies, it will likely be in defense of the ranch, proving once, and for all that the Dutton legacy demands everything, including the life of its most promising heir.